Hi, I'm Azara Tagaya, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Ringgit Cents Plus, powered by Ringgit Plus. As always, on this show, we talk about personal finance and current issues pertaining to money that affect you directly. And this week, we take another look at the cost of living. But before we get to that, let's talk about salaries for fresh graduates. Bank Negara Malaysia, BNM, recently published a study, and it showed that starting salaries for fresh graduates have actually fallen over the last 8 years. Now, this came as no surprise to graduates already in the job market. Many have since come out to criticize employers for not helping graduates cope with the cost of living, especially in large cities like in the Klang Valley. We spoke with the Malaysian Employers Federation to find out about the challenges in raising the salaries for those who are newly entering the job market. Among the findings of the Bank Negara Malaysia Annual Report 2018 are that workers in Malaysia are not paid fairly compared to other developed countries. Datuk Shamsuddin Bardan, the Executive Director of the Malaysian Employers Federation MEF, says he doesn't quite agree with the findings in its entirety. Datuk Shamsuddin is of the view that some aspects of the report could create unease among employees as well as a disharmony among employers and staff.
I must say that I don't agree with that kind of findings because, the report assumed that everything is the same. So it is more like in a controlled environment, whereas when you do business, you're not doing it in a controlled environment. Of course, labor cost is one of the factors, but as employers, as businesses, you need to take care of other costs and see whether at the end of the day, whether it is still worthwhile for you to do the business or not. And otherwise, then there is no point for us to do business. Say for example, if the Malaysian employers are expected to pay the same rate like their counterparts in Europe, in US, and in Singapore, then question is whether, then at the end of the day, whether there is any margin at all for the employer concerned. So if an employer finds that there is no margin at all for them to do business, then there is no way they can continue the activity. So that will lead to a lot of, I would say, negative consequences if we just take the report and say that because of that, we must increase our wages. Obviously, yes, I mean, the report can be used for discussion purposes, can be used for planning purposes, but to say that just because of that, then the Malaysian employers must increase their wages by 33% or 34% like that, I don't think it's a fair call.
According to Datuk Shamsuddin, there are many different factors that must be examined before employers can determine a suitable rate, such as the skill level of the employee, the consumer price index, and the poverty line in the country. The most important factor is the employer's capacity to pay the salary. The report also suggests that the economy has not created sufficient high-skilled jobs to absorb the number of graduates entering the labor force. Datuk Shamsuddin agrees with this. He says that for every 100 jobs created, 89 jobs are for the lower rank, 7 are for skilled workers, and 4 for management positions. He thinks more needs to be done to assist employers hire graduates, as currently there are more graduates being produced than jobs available for them. He is of the view that graduate unemployment may get worse over time. In its conclusion, the report asks this question. While employers need to be fairly compensated for their respective factor inputs, the question remains, why is the share of compensation accrued to employers instead of employees higher relative to our aspirational peers? How can Malaysia's taxation and distributive policies positively impact and enhance the division of incomes? Basically, this is to imply that employers are reaping the rewards while not sharing the profits with the staff. Datuk Shamsuddin disagrees as there are many employers who share their profits with their employees through the payment of bonuses. He points out that over time, cost has also gone up for employers while employees' productivity hasn't increased much. Additionally, BNM's annual report states that a fresh graduate with a diploma could earn a salary of 1,376 ringgit in 2018 compared to 1,458 ringgit in 2010. while a master's degree holder could now earn a salary of 2,923 ringgit as of 2018 compared to 2,707 ringgit 8 years ago. This shows only a slight increase over the past 8 years, especially for fresh graduates. Datuk Shamsuddin believes fresh graduates should not be weighed down by this finding.
Starting pay is just starting pay. Don't be so worried about starting pay because if the new graduate concerned is showing that he has a lot of potential and can contribute to the company, I think in no time the company and the employer will review the pay. Yeah?
For fresh graduates with good academic qualifications, the callback rate is very competitive. Datuk Shamsuddin cites reports that show that only 4% of graduates who apply for jobs get called for an interview. He says it's very important to master the English language if they want to improve their chances of getting a job. And for those with technical skills, the chances of getting a job is much higher. Our advice to those currently in the job market is to make yourself the best candidate out there. There isn't much you can do to change the current low wages. However, you can change yourself to improve your chances of getting hired.